Hey there everyone, what's up? It's Alex here from VG247.com, and I'm here with a little quick look at Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, which of course is the new game from the team at From Software. I mean, From Software is a big studio now, it's got a lot of teams, but of course, as you'll know, they are the guys who created the Souls series. So, you know, they did Demon Souls and then Dark Souls, and then of course, over on PlayStation, they did Bloodborne, and this is now sort of another Souls game, another branch of it, except, you know, it's not in the same franchise as Bloodborne or Souls itself. It's actually a whole new thing, and that whole new thing specifically is a new world, which is sort of, you know, very, very unashamedly Japanese, whereas with Souls and stuff, they've done sort of takes on Western Gothic, and the big difference is, I would say, it's probably, well, it is more of a action game than an RPG. So some of the RPG style systems of Dark Souls around picking a class and stuff like that have been stripped away, and what you have instead are stealth systems, which run a lot like some other stealth games. You know, you can hide in long grass like in an Assassin's Creed or whatever, and you can sneak up on enemies, you can lose enemies. Enemies have the sort of the alertness meter that fills up the more they see you. So if you're standing in the open, it will fill up really quickly. If you're standing sort of half hidden, it'll fill up slowly. If you're completely hidden, it will even deplete rather than fill up. And then when an enemy spots you, you know, they will come and get you. Some enemies will alert others as well, and so all that sort of stuff is really, really, really super cool. Now, people who have a longer history with From Software might also know of Tenchu, which, that's a game series that From worked on a bit. They didn't create it, but they did publish it, and they do actually own that series. And what I'd say is, while this isn't obviously a Tenchu game, there's definitely some lineage there, where Tenchu was a stealth action game where you played as a samurai and you had a grappling hook, and all of those things are true of this game too. I really like it, you know. I really like what it does differently to the Souls games. It's a faster paced, more in-your-face game that really awards aggression more than those other games. And that's really, really cool. The stealth adds a really different aspect too. So while you can still expect the same sort of attitude in terms of you'll want to learn to parry and counter in order to survive, enemies deal out massive amounts of damage. When you die, you lose progress, and it's quite brutal about that. There's enough unique about this to really make it stand out. Specifically, there's the posture system, where basically posture, the way that works is you have a posture stat, and enemies all have posture stats, and your aim in combat is to break an enemy's posture. And when you break an enemy's posture, basically you can then perform a deadly attack on them that on most enemies will be a one-hit kill, but on more powerful enemies will still just deal an enormous amount of damage. So there's health and there's posture. There's no stamina concept. You can swing your sword as much as you like, but the idea is really that you want to get in your face on the enemies and damage their posture, not only by hitting them, but even by having your attacks blocked, because eventually they won't be able to maintain their posture, and then that shows a weak point, and that allows them to absolutely get nailed. But the same is true of you too. So if you are too aggressive in a sloppy way, then you may very well end up with your posture being broken, which is going to end up with you on your ass with an enemy bearing down on you. And I want to say, actually, that feels different to Souls as well. Enemies do bear down on you more, and you're having to deal with crowd control a lot more. You know, you have to worry a lot more about a lot of weaker enemies rather than one absolutely massive, deadly guy. Although you still get those. There are troll-type enemies and giants and just guys in massive, bulky samurai armor that just that take a lot of effort to kill. And that's another thing about this game, is that because you've got that speedier aspect, and because you've got the grappling hook and all that sort of stuff, and you can actually bypass. I actually just said, you know what, I've died to this guy 3 times, I'm not going to fight him again, I'm going to use my grappling hook to get up above him and bypass him into the next area. And so that's totally an option too, but then you miss out on rewards and stuff like that. So it's a sort of risk reward there, and I think speedruns of this game will probably be really interesting for that reason. And then when you do die, that's sort of where the game gets its name, in that for story reasons, and I'm not going to talk about any story stuff here because I don't want to spoil anything, but for story reasons, you can die twice. So what that means is when you die, you're sort of presented with the standard, you know, you are dead sort of screen, and the screen dims a bit, but your character lays on the ground dead. And enemies at that point will sort of lose interest and be like, well, that's done, back on patrol or back to my station, whatever, and they will begin to walk away. And in that period, you have a limited amount of time where you can choose between just dying, giving in, getting sent back to your last checkpoint because there's totally bonfire style checkpoints, or you can resurrect. And this is actually really useful for the stealth, because if stealth fails you and you end up getting battered, you can die, wait for the enemies to walk a semi-decent distance away, then revive and quickly dash for some cover to get back into stealth. This is only once that you can do this per each, you know, the game world refreshes and you get all your resources back every time you rest. So you get that back when you rest, but also if you kill a lot of enemies, you might get a resurrection back as well. And that's really, really cool. And these sort of mechanics, they all sort of mesh together to make a different sort of game. Like, do not get me wrong, I think the thing about Sekiro is, for better and for worse, From Software are really good at making this specific game. They're really good at making it, and that means they've made it again, basically. They have absolutely made another one of these. And I think you already know, without hearing me speak more, if you're interested in playing another one of these. However, they are really bloody good at making these games, and they've made just enough tweaks to make it feel like a different game. It definitely feels like more of an action game than an RPG. The indication to me from people from Activision who are publishing the game is that, you know, yes, it will probably be a little bit shorter than a Souls game because it isn't an RPG, but it's got sort of an open nature to the way you can approach situations that isn't there in those games, thanks to the myriad systems, whether that's sort of the robotic arm that you have that you can equip various abilities to, secondary abilities, or, you know, the way you use the grappling hook, and buffs and debuffs you can get and all that sort of stuff. So there's still plenty of depth here, it's just sort of in a different way. And yeah, I don't think that this game is going to light the world on fire in terms of this is going to be the game that people who bounced off Dark Souls or Demon Souls or Bloodborne, it's not the game that those guys are going to fall in love with, even though it is being published by a really different company. It's being published by Activision, and this doesn't feel like an Activision sort of game at all, because, you know, those guys, they're the Call of Duty guys, they're the Crash Bandicoot guys, they're the Guitar Hero guys, they're the Pitfall guys. They just don't seem like the people who would be publishing this crazy, very Japanese, very focused game, but here it is. And it's definitely still that sort of game. And like I said, I don't think it's going to convert people. I don't think somebody who looks at the Activision logo and says, that's the sort of games I like, is going to love this, because it's still very much the same thing. But those who enjoy that, and I'm one of those people, it looks like you're really going to be in for a treat. So yeah, that is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. It is out pretty soon now, and if you stick around on VG247, both on VG247.com and on this channel, we'll have plenty more as we approach and as the game launches. And if you go to VG247.com now, you can actually read a more detailed preview if you want to read a written version of my thoughts based on a couple of hours with the game. Don't forget to give us a like, give us a subscribe, ring the bell, all those things YouTubers say. It genuinely really does help. We're sort of a growing channel. We're mainly focused on writing about games, but we're trying to do some video too. And yeah, that's it. So until next time, everyone. See ya.